water. The dislike to the Simbo road communicated itself to all the caravans, and soon it was magnified by reports of a wilderness reaching from Simbo to Kusuri, where there was neither food nor water to be obtained. Hamad's pagazis and those of the Arab servants rose in a body and declared they could not go on that march, and if Hamad insisted upon adopting it they would put their packs down and leave him to carry them himself. Hamad Kimiani, as he was styled by the Arabs, rushed up to Sheikh Thani and declared that he must take the Kiwa road, otherwise his pagazis would all desert. Thani replied that all the roads were the same to him, that wherever Hamad chose to go he would follow. They then came to my tent and informed me of the determination at which the Wanyamwezi had arrived. Calling my veteran Mnyamwezi, who had given me the favourable report once more to my tent, I bade him give a correct account of the Kiti road. It was so favourable that my reply to Hamad was, that I was the master of my caravan, that it was to go wherever I told the kirangozi, not where the pagazis chose, that when I told them to halt they must halt, and when I commanded a march should be made, and that as I fed them well and did not overwork them, I should like to see the pagazi or soldier that disobeyed me. You made up your mind just now that you would take the Simbo road, and we all agreed upon it. Now your pagazis say they will take the Kiwa road or desert. Go on the Kiwa road and pay 20 doti mahongo. I and my caravan tomorrow morning will take the Kiti road, and when you find me in Unyamwezi one day ahead of you, you will be sorry you did not take the same road. This resolution of mine had the effect of again changing the current of Hamad's thoughts, for he instantly thought, that is the best road after all, and as the Sahib is determined to go on it, and we have all travelled together through the bad land of the Wagogo, Inshallah, let us all go the same way. And Thani, good old man, not objecting, and Hamad having decided, they both joyfully went out of the tent to communicate the news. On the 7th the caravans, apparently unanimous that the Kiti road was to be taken, were led as usual by Hamad's kirangozi. We had barely gone a mile before I perceived that we had left the Simbo road, had taken the direction of Kiti, and by a cunning detour were now fast approaching the defile of the mountain ridge before us, which admitted access to the higher plateau of Kiwyeh. Instantly halting my caravan, I summoned the veteran who had travelled by Kiti, and asked him whether we were not going towards Kiwyeh. He replied that we were. Calling my pagazis together, I bade Bombay tell them that the Musungu never changed his mind, that as I had said my caravan should march by Kiti, to Kiti it must go whether the Arabs followed it or not. I then ordered the veteran to take up his load and show the kirangozi the proper road to Kiti. The Wanyamwezi pagazis put down their bales, and then there was every indication of a mutiny. The Wangwana soldiers were next ordered to load their guns and to flank the caravan, and shoot the first pagazis who made an attempt to run away. Dismounting, I seized my whip, and advancing towards the first pagazi who had put down his load, I motioned him to take up his load and march. It was unnecessary to proceed further; without an exception all marched away obediently after the kirangozi. I was about bidding farewell to Thani and Hamad when Thani said, "Stop a bit, Sahib, I have had enough of this child's play, I come with you," and his caravan turned after mine. Hamad's caravan was by this time close to the defile, and he himself was a full mile behind it, weeping like a child at what he was pleased to call our desertion of him. Pitying his strait, for he was almost beside himself as thoughts of Kiwa's Sultan, his extortion and rudeness, swept across his mind, I advised him to run after his caravan, and tell it, as all the rest had taken the other road, to think of the Sultan of Kiwyeh. Before reaching the Kiti defile I was aware that Hamad's caravan was following us. The descent of the ridge was rugged and steep; thorns of the prickliest nature punished us severely. The acacia horrida was here more horrid than usual; the gums stretched out their branches, and entangled the loads; the mimosa with its umbrella-like top served to shade us from the sun, but impeded a rapid advance. Steep outcrops of syenite and granite, worn smooth by many feet, had to be climbed over; rugged terraces of earth and rock had to be ascended; and distant shots resounding through the forest added to the alarm and general discontent, and had I not been immediately behind my caravan, watchful of every manoeuvre, my Wanyamwezi had deserted to a man. Though the height we ascended was barely 800 feet above the salina we had just left, the ascent occupied 2 hours. Having surmounted the plateau and the worst difficulties, we had a fair road comparatively, which ran through jungle, forest, and small open tracts, which in 3 hours more brought us to Munieka, a small village, surrounded by a clearing richly cultivated by a colony of subjects of Swaruru of Mukondoku. By the time we had arrived at camp everybody had recovered his good humour and content except Hamed. Thani's men happened to set his tent too close to Hamed's tree, around which his bales were stacked. Whether the little Sheikh imagined honest old Thani capable of stealing one is not known, but it is certain that he stormed and raved about the near neighbourhood of his best friend's tent, until Thani ordered its removal 100 yards off. This proceeding even, it seems, did not satisfy Hamed, for it was quite midnight, as Thani said, when Hamed came, and kissing his hands and feet, on his knees implored forgiveness, which of course Thani, being the soul of good nature, and as large-hearted as any man, willingly gave. Hamed was not satisfied, however, until with the aid of his slaves he had transported his friend's tent to where it had at first been pitched. The water at Munieka was obtained from a deep depression in a hump of syenite, and was as clear as crystal, and as cold as ice water, a luxury we had not experienced since leaving Sembweni. We were now on the borders of Unyanzi, or as it is better known, Mukondoku Makali, the hot ground or hot field. We had passed the village populated by Wagogo, and were about to shake the dust of Ugogo from our feet. We had entered Ugogo full of hopes, believing it a most pleasant land, a land flowing with milk and honey. We had been grievously disappointed. It proved to be a land of gall and bitterness, full of trouble and vexation of spirit, where danger was imminent at every step, where we were exposed to the caprice of inebriated sultans. Is it a wonder then that all felt happy at such a moment? With the prospect before us of what was believed by many to be a real wilderness, our ardour was not abated, but was rather strengthened. The wilderness in Africa proves to be, in many instances, more friendly than the populated country. The kirangozi blew his kudu horn much more merrily on this morning than he was accustomed to do while in Ugogo. We were about to enter Magundu Makali. At 9 a.m., 3 hours after leaving Munieka, and 2 hours since we had left the extreme limits of Ugogo, we were halted at Mabunguru Nala. The Nala runs southwesterly, after leaving its source in the chain of hills dividing Ugogo from Magunda Makali. During the rainy season it must be nearly impassable, owing to the excessive slope of its bed. Traces of the force of the torrent are seen in the syenite and basalt boulders which encumber their course. Their rugged angles are worn smooth, and deep basins are excavated where the bed is of the rock, which in the dry season serve as reservoirs. Though the water contained in them has a slimy and greenish appearance, and is well populated with frogs, it is by no means unpalatable. End of chapter 7, part 3.